Coming up on September 21st at Wembley Stadium, IBF heavyweight champion Daniel Dubois will defend his title for the first time against former two-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Let me tell you, this is an extremely interesting matchup at this time. If you asked me a year ago who I thought would win between AJ and Dubois, I would have chosen Joshua without hesitation. To be honest, I was never especially impressed with Dubois before or after his battle with Usyk. However, following his loss against Usyk, Dubois has actually shown me something that convinces me to believe this is a true 50-50 type of matchup, which goes against the prevailing consensus in my experience, where most onlookers anticipate AJ to win. I believe that many people underestimate the potential for Dubois to win this one. AJ's significant breakout victory came in 2015, when he stopped fellow and defeated British challenger Dillian Whyte. The next time out, he defeated Charles Martin to capture the IBF heavyweight title. Following the title defenses, AJ faced Wladimir Klitschko, the previous long-reigning heavyweight champion. That, to me, is AJ's signature career triumph to this day. The combat was extremely action-packed, with several dramatic switches of momentum. Joshua was fighting well early on, and he floored Wladimir hard in round 5. Klitschko then demonstrated the skills and championship heart that propelled him to become one of the longest-reigning heavyweight champions ever. Klitschko was inspired by the knockout, and in the very next round, he scored a spectacular knockdown of his own. Klitschko's expertise took over, and he boxed effectively and methodically, as is his specialty. However, AJ persisted, and slowly but steadily, he fought his way back, rallying late and truly coming on strong before the stunning late-round stoppage. AJ overcame difficulties, defended his IBF belt, and won the vacant WBA heavyweight championship. Following that, AJ won 3 more title fights, including a unanimous decision victory over Joseph Parker, who added the WBO belt to his collection, as well as a highlight reel knockout of the highly regarded Alexander Povetkin. Joshua was a perfect 20-0 at the time, having won 7 title fights in a row, including 6 straight title defenses, and was the unified IBF, WBA, WBO heavyweight champion. His next fight was intended to be against Jarrell Miller, but he was taken off the event, and Andy Ruiz stepped in as a late substitute. The rest is history. Ruiz scored the stunning upset, just a few days after I posted a video saying something like, "Any heavyweight fight involving AJ, Fury, or Wilder that isn't against one of the other 3 is a complete waste of time," or something like that. What the heck do I know? I'm not exactly Quasimodo over here. AJ returned from his loss by defeating Ruiz in their rematch by a landslide, 12-round unanimous decision. AJ delivered a stellar performance, barely outboxing Ruiz in the rematch without having to shift out of first gear, which contrasted sharply with their previous confrontation. AJ then knocked out Pulev, and he lost back-to-back battles to Usyk. There is no shame in losing to a true all-time outstanding like Usyk, and to his credit, I think AJ was more competitive in the rematch, even though Usyk easily won again. However, the inquiries surrounding AJ in the aftermath focused primarily on his mental health. In short, whether or not he still possessed the inner power and drive, that something special that enabled him to preserve and conquer hardship in his incredible victory over Klitschko. AJ went on to win 4 fights in a row, and in my perspective, he has improved with each fight after losing 3 of 5 during his career's worst run. First, he defeated Jermaine Franklin, and I thought his critics were unfair after that, in which I believed AJ looked excellent and performed what he needed to do. A strong rebound win, but for many, if not most, it did little to alleviate concerns about his mental state. Then he faced Robert Helenius, who had fought just a week before in a medieval fortress. Helenius was effective at moments, making AJ appear hesitant, but Joshua ended the fight impressively and decisively with a devastating knockout. AJ still had critics who questioned his mental state, and others were critical that it took AJ 7 rounds to stop a guy Wilder stopped in 1, but I believe the critiques were exaggerated. Then AJ had a dominant performance against Wallin, and Otto was a top 10 heavyweight at the time after defeating Gassiev, but AJ made quick work of him. After round 5, Wallin's camp called the fight off, and the fact that it didn't end very well did little to quiet his critics, but I felt AJ looked great in the fight. And then, against Ngannou, AJ knocked him out with a fantastic display of power, but detractors pointed out that he wasn't a true boxer, but Tyson Fury kind of opened the door. And I believe that AJ fighting Ngannou positioned him well in the case that Fury won his first fight with Usyk, but that did not happen. Thus, the game of one-upmanship did not continue into a long-awaited showdown between AJ and Fury, which may or may not happen in the future. I appreciate the spirit of what AJ's sharpest critics have said, and I believe doubts about whether his heart was actually in it were justified following the Usyk rematch. Since then, I've been mainly impressed with AJ's current performance. At the same time, I believe that, with the exception of Ngannou, none of these players were known for their deadly punching power. Helenius could punch, but he was better recognized for his accumulating skills. Ngannou's power is more difficult to assess. He dropped Fury, for sure, but so did Steve Cunningham and, more recently, Usyk. In Ngannou's case, it didn't matter because AJ ended it before Ngannou had a chance to land anything significant. The point I'm trying to make here is that I believe Dubois has the best combination of power and the ability to deliver that power of anyone AJ has faced since the Ruiz rematch, or perhaps since he beat Povetkin, or even since AJ showed incredible championship heart in his win over Klitschko in 2017. Dubois, on the other hand, had never really wowed me since the Joyce fight. Joe Joyce, in my opinion, was supposed to signify Dubois' major breakout victory in the same way that Dillian White did for AJ, but it did not happen. Dubois did appear excellent at times, but to be fair, he suffered nerve damage and a shattered orbital bone in that one, so I thought people who called him a quitter were being harsh, but I wasn't impressed with Dubois, and this was before Joyce's career-defining triumph over Parker. Then I believe Dubois was really fortunate to receive the WBA eliminator in his very next fight, which finally led to him earning the regular WBA belt against Trevor Bryan, which was not a significant world title but would secure him a mandatory position for Usyk. Prior to that, Dubois was fortunate to survive Kevin Lerrena's early onslaught, during which he suffered an ACL injury. But nothing up to this moment had given me any reason to feel Dubois had a chance against Usyk, and Usyk won the fight in a very overpowering way, scoring the knockout. And that was Dubois' last major title fight to date. So, if you had asked me then and there who would win between AJ and Dubois, I would have dismissed Dubois' chances almost entirely, just as I had done with late replacement Ruiz all those years before. But since then, Dubois has come across as tremendously motivated and determined, demonstrating his heart into difficult fights. On boxing's Day of Reckoning, Dubois performed admirably against Big Baby Miller. Dubois was able to outwork and outmaneuver Miller, whose plotting attempts could not compete with Dubois' superior skill set. But it wasn't always simple, as Miller occasionally imposed his will and delivered some thundering shots. Dubois absorbed them well, kept his focus, and continued to execute efficiently. Dubois eventually got Miller in difficulty late in the 10th and final round, and Dynamite Dubois unloaded on him, causing the stoppage. Then, in June, he faced undefeated challenger Filip Hrgovic, who was a longtime IBF mandatory and widely regarded as a top 10 heavyweight. That was a tough contest in which Hrgovic landed some flush right hands early on, while Dubois absorbed them and fired back with greater success as the rounds progressed. By the second half of the bout, Dubois had become more effective, and he unleashed a more furious offensive, causing significant damage to Hrgovic's eyes. Dubois began beating Hrgovic in round 8, and the bout was eventually stopped. Dubois won the IBF interim champion. However, Usyk later renounced the title, and Dubois was promoted to the genuine McCoy. Daniel Dubois is the current IBF heavyweight champion, despite having never won a big championship fight. Similar to Ken Norton with the WBC belt in the late 1970s, many people assume that, given how easily Hrgovic landed his right, what will happen if AJ starts landing all of those massive right hands early? The reasoning process is that AJ hits harder and more precisely than Hrgovic, hence, AJ will knock him out early. After all, AJ is significantly more skilled and talented than Miller and Hrgovic. Ultimately, Dubois will fold. On the other hand, given that AJ has not fought someone as dangerous and powerful as Dubois in a long time, Dubois has generally proven to have a pretty solid chin over the first half or 12 rounds, and he will eventually land a big punch where AJ will freeze and revert to panic mode when someone like Dubois lands on him. Or perhaps Dubois lands first, putting AJ in the same terror condition that causes him to break apart. All of those situations in favor of AJ and Dubois seem realistic to me. AJ has had TWO terrible wars in his career, both of which resulted in significant punishment against punchable opponents, the victory over Vladimir Klitschko and the loss to Ruiz in the first bout. I'm not saying Usyk can't punch or that AJ didn't take a lot of punishment for punching Usyk, because he did. However, to me, the Vlad fight and the first Ruiz bout were conflicts, whereas the Usyk fights were systematic and calculated beatings in a protracted tactical chess match. The point is, I do not believe AJ has been tested in the same sense since the first Ruiz fight, in which he is forced into an all-out conflict. Looking back, I believe Dubois has the best combination of power and ability to deliver that power of anyone AJ has faced in a long time. Aside from that, Dubois has proven to be hungry post the Usyk loss, having emerged triumphant into demanding encounters where he was taxed, but AJ hasn't been tested in the same manner by men like Ngannou, Wallin, Helenius, or Franklin. I don't believe anyone has really pushed AJ during his 4-fight winning streak, and even Usyk did not push him in the same way that Ruiz did. And AJ hasn't really had to confront that kind of struggle since. I, for one, don't believe AJ will simply pass through Dubois early. He could, and maybe he will, but I believe Dubois is strong, driven, and hungry enough to fight with everything he has. I believe that the confidence that comes with entering the arena as a champion will help Dubois reach new heights. At the same time, if AJ is truly determined to become a 3-time winner and does not underestimate the threat before him, Dubois will have a difficult time winning, as he will need to demonstrate a new level of play. After all, AJ has an obvious advantage in major bout experience. I honestly believe that this is a 50-50 contest. The spoils belong to the victor, and I'll tell you 3 things. Derek Chisora recently caused an upset against juggernaut Joe Joyce. Martin Backel just defeated Jared Anderson in another heavyweight match. These things happen in threes, and because I actually believe this is a 50-50 fight, I believe Dubois triumphs over Miller and Hrgovic have prepared him better for the occasion than AJ's victories over Wallin and Ngannou. I was going to select AJ in this one, primarily because of his advantage in major fight experience, but I convinced myself otherwise while creating this video preview. I now feel that Dubois will rise to the situation. There are no scraps in my scrapbook, so my official prediction is that Daniel Dubois will stop in the 7th round. But, as usual, what the heck do I know? I'm not exactly Quasimodo over here. But whatever happens, I'm revved up. September 21st. Live on DAZ and PPV. I included a link in the description for anyone who does not already have a DAZN subscription. Simply follow the link in the description to sign up for DAZN. Good luck to Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. Who do you believe will win? Please provide your opinions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it and have a wonderful night.